When I open the Resi 1 tab at the bottom of the screen, I'm immediately prompted to give the Resi element a name. When I type houses into the dialog box and click OK, that title will appear in cell A1 at the top left-hand corner of the page. I can change this name later if I wish. It's not a protected cell. Note that details of the dwelling types in this element, their floor areas, tenure and values have all been copied from the Resi overview sheet into columns to the right of the main input area. Within the main input area on the left, the DVM has also imported the total number of open market and affordable homes in this element, as well as the annual sales rate, now expressed as a monthly rate, which I defined on the project sheet. My first task is to decide whether my gross internal floor area, for build purposes, should be the same as my sales GIA. For the houses, I'm going to assume that it is, so I leave the default entry of 100% in B8 unchanged. I believe I can build the houses at a cost rate of £900 per square metre. When I insert that figure in B10, the DVM calculates my total build cost in D10. If I want to round that figure, or if a cost consultant has given me a total cost figure rather than a rate per square metre, I could insert a total cost figure in D10, and the DVM will calculate what that represents in pounds per square metre in B10. As the help notes on this page and the user guide explain, build cost in this context is what the industry will often refer to as plot costs. The cost of external site works and all other development costs are accounted for separately through other worksheets in the DVM. Those are described in a later screencast video. Thirdly, on this screen, I have determined that the building work on my houses will commence in month 4 of my development program and cash flow. I have then decided to link my construction period to the rate at which I expect the houses to sell. So I specify the cash flow month in which I expect my sales to start in B15 and predict in E15 that in this case the last house will sell 4 months after I finish building. Note that I have also adjusted the monthly sales rate in B18 and in B19 to reflect my expectation that I should achieve some off-plan sales and reservations to boost sales in the month that sales begin. Turning to the delivery of affordable homes, point 6 on the screen, I have set cell B20 to achieve a handover of all those dwellings halfway through the sales period for the open market homes, as local authorities will often expect the affordable homes to be delivered before a certain percentage of the open market homes are occupied. In this scenario, the DVM assumes that the first handover of affordable homes takes place at the same time as the open market sales begin. If required, all alternative scenarios can be set up by creating a separate Resi element for the affordable homes. This is explained in the main user guide. Finally, on this screen page, I have chosen to customize my distribution of open market build costs in the development cash flow by selecting Custom rather than the linear or S-curve options in E12. I have done that deliberately to show you the profile of the 3 cost distribution options that the DVM offers and which you see on the next screenshot. If you select Custom in E12, the DVM shows you a comparison of the linear and S-curve distribution options and invites you to complete your own monthly cost distribution in column AA. The total cost figure in AA6 will count down as you insert your monthly cost profile in the cells below that. This screenshot shows how the remaining cost to be allocated has reduced to some £5 million after I have started to enter figures in column AA. In the next screenshot, I have completed my custom distribution, and cell AA6 shows that there's no further cost balance to be accounted for. Having completed the Resi 1 element sheet, I now move on to Resi 2. Here is how I have chosen to complete that second element worksheet. Firstly, I have allowed for non-valuable circulation space or common areas within the building by assuming a net to gross ratio of 87.5% in cell B8. The DVM automatically calculates the total build GIA in D8 accordingly. I have applied a different cost rate to this building in B10, and I have also set a start date for the construction at a later point in my development program, partly to ensure that I have received some revenue from house sales before I start building the flats in month 15. I assume that I will not be able to complete the sale of any flats until I have completed construction of the whole building. So in this case, I have opted to define the date on which my sales start by specifying the number of months that I expect the construction work to take. I have entered 11 months in cell B14. From this, the DVM calculates that my sales can start in month 26 of my overall development cash flow. Fourthly, I have tweaked the sales profile in B18, B19 and B20 from the purely linear profile that the DVM takes from the sales rate I specified on the project sheet. There are no affordable units in this element of the development, so all cells in the lower right-hand part of the input area are blank. The sixth note highlights that I've chosen an S-curve distribution of build costs for this element of my project. Lastly, having completed all mandatory fields on both Resi Element worksheets, I save the file, as I have before, prior to clicking the Update button at the top of the page. This button tells the DVM to transfer all the data from the Resi Elements to the cash flow. When I do that, the DVM automatically takes me to the cash flow worksheet, where I can check that the data has been transferred in the way I was expecting. On this screen we see firstly that construction of the houses in Resi Element 1 starts in month 4, and number 2, my first sales begin in month 13. We also see at point 3 that construction of the flats in element 2 begins in month 15, all of which is in line with what we put on the Resi Element sheets. We also see that dependent costs have been triggered through the default settings on the project sheet. That is, external site costs following the same pattern as build costs, and various fees and my contingency allowance on construction costs. Scrolling across to the right, the cash flow correctly shows that all affordable homes have been delivered by month 24, while construction and sales of the open market units continues. And secondly, the first flats are sold in month 26, following practical completion of the building works on element 2 in month 25. This final screenshot of the cash flow sheet shows firstly the profile I set for the revenue from flat sales. Then by comparing 2 and 3, you can see the 4-month overhang period I specified for house sales following completion of all site works. Note at 4 that the cash flow doesn't yet contain any costs for land or community infrastructure, which covers SIL and Section 106 obligations. There will also be other development costs to specify and add to the appraisal, and I cover those in the next screencast.